Welcome, everybody, to the Standing Eight podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Soria from Los Angeles. With me are the usual suspects. We got Stephen Ruiz out in Arlington, Texas, who also runs his Instagram boxing page, Ringside Global. Also, in this episode, we got the one and only Courtney Tanner, aka the Burt Brown Sugar. And this is episode 105 of the Standing Eight podcast, giving our reaction to the May 18th heavyweight championship match between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. After 12 highly enjoyable rounds from the performances of both Fury and Usyk, Usyk was awarded the split decision victory to become the heavyweight division's first four-belt undisputed champion and the first undisputed champion in that division in 24 years. But before we square up our post-fight assessment to what we predicted for this fight, let me just provide a quick overview of what transpired over those 12 rounds. From what I can recall, Usyk was the first to set the tone of the fight by landing a hard left hook in the first round. For rounds 2 and 3, it was about almost an even fight, with Fury boxing effectively against Usyk's forward pressure. From the fourth round to the sixth, Fury appeared to have the edge, reciprocating the pressure back on Usyk and focusing the majority of his attacks to Usyk's body, noticeably with some uppercuts. Usyk would turn the tables on Fury in the eighth round, landing distinct power shots, which had Fury's face bleeding profusely at the end of the round. Usyk carried that momentum onto the ninth round, blitzing Fury with a combination of 14 punches, causing him to stumble and wobble into the ropes. Referee Mark Nelson categorized that instance as a knockdown and gave Fury a standing 8 count well after the round ended. The remaining rounds, Fury did his best to bring the momentum back in his favor, which had at least the judges scoring the final round for Fury. In the end, Usyk would win by split decision with scores of 115-112, 114-113 in Usyk's favor, and 114-113 for Fury's. So we got Stephen Ruiz, we got Courtney Tanner in the building. So Stephen, let me go to you first. Give us your assessment and how it paired up with your prediction. Go ahead, Stephen.
I knew the moment that Fury was in trouble was when I saw Drake bet 500,000 on Fury. Man, that Drake curse is so real. That guy is the most casual of casuals on any sport. So if you see Drake going left, run right. If you see him betting somebody, bet the opposite. If he bets the over, bet the under. It's just, I said in my boxing group chat that I'm in with a lot of great guys out here in the DFW media and all over. It's just, man, you just know. You never know what you're getting with Fury. So he's crazy like a fox. He can be a little bit in and out with a lot of his stuff, and it just didn't look like he had taken it as serious. And Fury looked like he, as Courtney likes to say, was standing on business from the beginning. Usyk was, and Fury just looked like he was just, hey, I'm here to show up. I'm kind of here to do my thing. And you got to remember, Usyk is a guy straight down to business. No fun and games. He is feel. He's going to show up. He's going to do his job. He impressed with Anthony Joshua. People made some deal of the height difference and the reach, but that didn't really affect him with Anthony Joshua. And Usyk, I don't think he started out slow. I think he was just doing what a lot of high IQ boxers do. You got to remember, Lomachenko is a big stablemate, a brother to him. These guys are high IQ level boxers. So when he's jabbing to the body early, jabbing to the body, he's just touching, finding range still. Like you pointed out, Aaron, he landed some dirty left hooks, dirty right hooks, to where he found his range. He knew what he needed to do to close that distance, and he did. And I saw, shout out to somebody, I forget who it was. They said that Fury was touching those ropes like a prime Rey Mysterio. He was bouncing all over those ropes, and he just was reeling. Legs looked shot. Just without those ropes, he's gone. He's out of there. Like Frank Dukes in the Kumite, he's off the stage. So shout out to Usyk, double undisputed. Man, that guy's just cementing his legacy with everything he's done. Gold Olympian, gold medalist Olympian, war veteran during his time as a pro boxer, pro boxer, undisputed as cruiserweight, undisputed as heavyweight, and didn't beat any C level, B level boxers to get those belts either. He beat the best that was available, and that's all you can ask of a boxer. Whether you agree with Fury being top, you agree with Anthony Joshua being a top guy. Hey, if that's what's out there, and I conquered that, we can't put some make believe guys on there. That's who was in front of me. That's who I beat. I didn't just beat one guy to be undisputed. I beat a couple guys, and that's just speaks volumes. I can't say enough of that guy. He's great for the sport of boxing, and I'm just thoroughly impressed. So shout out to those guys. I thought I had Usyk winning because for me, he's landing the more effective shots. I get you could kind of split hairs with the rounds, things like that. But man, when a guy's just getting beat like that, it's hard to say that the other guy won. When that dude is just reeling, his legs look shot, it would be hard pressed. I could see money wise on the boxing business side to say, oh, it's Fury, but it doesn't matter because the rematch clause was initiated, I believe today or yesterday by Fury anyway. So we were going to get two regardless of who won. So I guess what matters is who takes 2 out of the 3. But right now, Usyk looks like the man. He is the man. He's got all the belts. He's got all the hardware, and it's hard to say anything against that guy. Even Bud Crawford, who could legitimately say, no, I need to be number 1, was like, man, props to that guy. Give that guy his flowers now because he's up there. So you have a lot of people, Inoue, Fury, Inoue, Usyk, Bud, or any which way you want to slice it. I don't think it's not bad for any of those guys to be 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. It doesn't matter. Any way you slice it, that is the top of boxing, and we're in a good spot.
You know, just to add more to what you said, like, yeah, the way in which he did it to attain that undisputed status in the heavyweight division, and as you said, he fought what was available to him, and and the names that just happened to be available to him happened to be the best in that division. He went through hell 2 times against Anthony Joshua, and now with Fury. So that's nothing to sneeze at. So great stuff, Steven. So let's go to you, Courtney. Your assessment of the fight and how it paired up with your prediction. Go ahead, Courtney.
Man, I love when we're I'm not gonna say I love when we're shorthanded on the panel, but I am gonna enjoy this for us having less people, and we can get it in a little bit more because I often have a lot to say. And hey, for Stephen Ruiz going before me, hey, there's a lot of entertainment value in the differences we have in what we say to each other, what we say on the show. But hey, this is one of the rare occasions where I'll say, hey, Stephen, you was kicking gospel. But I'm gonna hop into it. I'm gonna make 2 controversial statements that are probably gonna be raked on the coals on Instagram first. The disclaimer: I fully give Usyk his props. So this isn't out of hate. This is actually out of love first and foremost. But Clarissa Shields, our esteemed 2-time guest on the show, she dropped a post a couple days ago, and it was in relation to an ESPN post. That basically kicked the accolades for Usyk that Steven just kicked, and she said, "Give me my props. I did it first." And so, hey, in the comments, usually under her posts, she was being excruciated. But I want to jump on and with my first comments, basically let her know, hey, right here, I noticed that you did it first and foremost, and I think we will always give you your props on this show. Thank you for your support, and we recognize. Quote. Secondly, for the fight, for how I saw it, my prediction initially was Fury, and I held that throughout. And just watching the fight and watching it back, I scored it for Fury. And the reason being is I thought with how the rounds played out, strategically it was back and forth. No one person dominated more of the fight, I believe, than the other. I think Usyk clearly dominated the later stages of the fight, and that's why you can't be mad for him getting the decision and for the judges deciding to award him the undisputed crown. The adage in boxing is often you have to clearly beat the champ to take the belt. Especially in their hometown. I know it's fought on a neutral site in a neutral country. I'll say if I was ringside, I would have given it to Fury. But this is the thing: Usyk finished, and I think he finished in a more decisive manner. And when you do that down the stretch, and a lot of those rounds, I think Usyk looked better, and he was able to steal those rounds. And when you do that, it makes it makes what you're doing look more emphatic than what your opponent is doing. And I think on that, it's easy to see why he is now undisputed and why he was awarded the decision in that fight. So you can't be mad at it. But I'm going to say from a nuts and bolts standpoint in analyzing fights, I think Fury held a little bit of more of an advantage in that, but it's one of those things. It's one of those fights where you can't be mad at the decision either way. It depends stylistically, it goes subjectively to what you like. And I think the judges liked what Usyk did more than Fury. But I think Fury had his moments in that fight where he showed why he's at the level that he has, and why he's been the lineal, the man to beat in the heavyweight division. And I'm looking forward to the rematch. I think it's going to be cracking. I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue in the lead up. But Usyk, he did what he came to do, and he elevated himself. He elevated boxing. He elevated this moment, this era, and he elevated his country, which is going through its challenges and its tribulations right now. So definite props to Usyk. It is now his era until someone gets in the ring and decides it's not. And along the lines of what Steven was saying, when Bud dropped his statement saying that he believes that Usyk is now clearly number one, he said out loud what I was already thinking. With Usyk with Crawford and Inoue, I think there was a lot of room for debate between who should be number one between those two. With Usyk beating Fury, taking his O, doing it the way he did down the stretch, and just beating the man to beat the man in the premier division in boxing, I think he clearly did enough to dead the debate out of the three. I think the debate is now who is number two between Usyk, Crawford, and Inoue, and you're very hard pressed to make a solid argument
It's a
why
toss-up.
Usyk, but why Crawford or Inoue should be number one above him or be any place above him.
Courtney, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is just I have a real question, and this is I really want to hear.
No, go ahead.
Do you think, as an American boxing fan, do you think he?
I'm obviously
no. I'm saying for me, do you think that Usyk would get way more love because he just did what we all wanted Deontay Wilder to do? Did he not? He beat Anthony Joshua and he beat Fury. And had Deontay Wilder done that, champagne's popping, Alabama's popping. We're just saying bronze bomber all day, every day till our
squad.
Bomb squad. Right. But Usyk did it. It's like, meh, European, overseas, meh. But had we had all the talks of Anthony Joshua versus Wilder versus Fury, and look who ends up doing it. Usyk, a cruiserweight, who wasn't even in the combo, but took like a horse, took the lead late. Your thoughts on that? Had it been Wilder that did it?
We can go back previous episodes. I'm on waxing here and saying that Usyk was going to be the one to upset that apple cart. Because I thought, I between in basically the four-way dynamic between Wilder, Fury, Usyk, and Joshua. I didn't think Joshua and Wilder were going to make it to have to see each other for Undisputed. I thought either Wilder was going to end up losing to Fury in that rematch, or Joshua was going to get upset by Usyk, and that's exactly what happened. I think that's what makes Usyk's reign so dynamic and so intriguing in this space now, is that he's been the ultimate upsetter. And I think him beating Joshua when he was fairly fresh in the heavyweight division. I think that was a little more upsetting to the space, to the boxing establishment than when Fury did it. But and I'll say this as I started to interject when you were asking the question is, I mean, in terms of an American boxing fan, I've said it countless times, man. It's hard for me to accept a European or a foreign boxing champion. I'm one of those people who firmly wants to see those belts in America. And it goes back to my, being a kid and watching boxing with my dad. My dad never accepted Lennox Lewis. He but he was always if anything he was a hater on Lennox Lewis. I think he appreciated what he did in the ring and his accomplishments, but at the end of the day, I always remember my dad watching the big Lennox Lewis fights and being like, he's not even British, he's Canadian. But no, I'm not gonna go there on Usyk. Particularly now, he deserves all the props in the world, especially where we are from a geopolitical standpoint, as that pairs with boxing. And I've always said with the sport of boxing, it's one of the few spaces where it's okay to be nationalistic. It's okay to be of the mindset that you want to root for the guy who looks like you, or who speaks the same language as you do, or who worships the same as you do. But I think if you look at it though, what Usyk did and what Usyk accomplished, it is so hard not to give him his props. It is so hard not you're a blatant hater if you try to dismiss or put asterisks or marginalize what he did over in Saudi Arabia last weekend. Definitely deserves his props. I want to shout out my boy Nick Angarami, who as soon as Usyk turned pro, he called it. He called it. He said he was good.
Remember.
He said he called it from the jump, from the beginning. I don't think he was even off the medal pedestal in London when he was calling it. But the thing with that is definitely give Usyk his props. Definitely give Usyk a shout out. And I want to particularly key in on one thing that Nick Angarami said. He's like, he's going to have a run just like Holyfield had a run. And that's exactly what happened. Holyfield turned pro straight out of the Olympics, went into the newly created cruiserweight division, chopped down everybody in that division to where there was nobody left. And not only did that, but after he left the cruiserweight division, it was a division that was no longer worthy of mention. But I think the guys that Holyfield dealt with at cruiserweight were more formidable than the guys that Usyk did.
Don't do that. Don't start watering down.
Hey,
we can't deny it.
No.
You come out 20 seconds later and then start saying that his guys were better.
Hold on, Steven. Let me finish. I didn't interject or cut in when you were speaking. So I'm saying I think if you look at a name standpoint and the resumes that those guys had at cruiserweight that Holyfield dealt with than Usyk did, I think all I'm saying is I think that Usyk.
Yeah, you're using hindsight. That's why. I'm saying,
please don't interject. Please, I'll let you speak. But
don't contradict yourself.
I'm not contradicting myself. If you would let me explain or let me talk, then
sorry, I won't mess you up.
You know what I'm saying? But as far as for Usyk, he had a little bit of an easier path at cruiserweight. That's pretty much what I'm saying. There was no tournament lined up for Holyfield. Holyfield was a different era where guys were more adept to fight the best and to unify and to and there was and obviously there was less belts. But I'll say this though, getting back to the point I was making is with what Holyfield did at cruiserweight, what Usyk followed in that path and did, and then Usyk the style that he adopted as a heavyweight and what he displayed last week against Fury. He was looking like a Holyfield in there. a smaller guy who was bringing it to a much bigger guy. And that's what Holyfield did all his whole entire career. You know, a particularly undersized heavyweight that just went in there with a motor with it and just steamrolled guys and just brought the fight to guys. And I think that was so cool to see last weekend with Usyk in there with Fury, is that he was just going in there and he was chopping down the space. And that's where Fury loves to operate, from the outside. Or if the guy's coming in on him, basically wrestling with him and moving. And Usyk wasn't accepting the clinches. He was going in there. He was looking like a shark's fin in there, going after Fury. So that I thought that was cool. I thought that was unique to see, in that we see a bit of a Holyfield 2.0. And you know, some of the biggest fights in the golden era of the heavyweights, or the past era in the 90s. You know, a lot of them had Holyfield involved in those. So for us to see Usyk on that stage and in that space, and looking like, you know, Holyfield, that was cool to see.
So shout out to Joe Alvarez. He thinks he takes Fury to take the rematch. So let's talk about that. I kind of agree. As far as the rematch, I think it's a case where Fury just has to tweak a few things from this fight to really put the stamp to stamp his win in the rematch. Steven, your thoughts on the what do you see in the rematch?
I completely agree. Even though I'm not going to water down Usyk's victory like somebody else did, and I'm not going to say that the other guy won, but still give him props and then compare him to somebody else that didn't do what he just did, and all that. I think 100%, like Aaron says, 100% like Joel says, I think it's very much a Anthony Joshua Ruiz too, where it's like, all right, I messed up in the first one. I'm just going to go to what I got to do, Klitschko style, make it a very boring fight, make my adjustments, and Ruiz will never have a shot. I think Fury's going to do exactly what he needs to do in the second one. And I'll say it right now, I believe he wins the second one, even though I'm high on his first win on Usyk's. Fury beats him in the rematch. So I think you had a lot of biased people that wanted Fury to win, and then they had him, even though he wasn't landing the clear, effective punches like Usyk was, and really wasn't, like I said, to boxing IQ folks. It's hard to say that the other guy won when the guy's reeling, stumbling, using the ropes like they said Rey Mysterio was, but then to give him a round here and there in between Usyk's dominating performance. So I think, just saying all that, I do believe, like Aaron and Joel, think that Fury takes the rematch.
According to you, how do you see that that rematch playing out?
Well, the comeback, and you know, so somebody wants to speak in hyperboles and and speak around me or whatever. No, I mean, like I said, I give Usyk his props. Not marginalizing anything he did. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that someone might have had more formidable competition at another weight class, which was all I was saying. Sorry if that tipped off or was the tip of pointing anything. But the thing is, with Fury, I would certainly not be surprised if you won the rematch. I think there's a path strategically for him doing that. I don't think he got obliterated. I don't think Usyk beat it out of him in a way where he's got nothing left, or he would question himself mentally, like some of, it certainly wasn't. He didn't take an L like Spence took one against Crawford. But at the same time, for me, it's hard to envision Fury getting at him in a rematch, because not because of anything that Fury is limited to. I think Usyk, he showed, and he won in a fashion where there's actually another gear he can get up to. Usyk is coming in and he's learning on the job at heavyweight. And he's continually in every fight we've seen him get better and better and better and better in each of his fights at heavyweight. And it's not one of those things where initially where he came in and he was a skilled cruiserweight who just had the ability to beat some middling competition at heavyweight. No, he is fully adapted. He is fully grown into where he needs physically to where he needs to be at heavyweight, and his skills and his power are coming along with it. As for his Fury, we see peaks and valleys. We see ebbs. We see highs and lows with him. And with basically with Fury fighting in who was the USC guy he fought in Dongo or in Gano, where he went life and death
Francis
with a
Ngannou.
guy. Yeah, he went life and death with a guy who hadn't gotten into the cage, who had gotten into the ring. He was a cage fighter, and for him to look like that against someone, and then for Anthony Joshua to fight that guy the next fight and knock him spark out. I'm just seeing where comparatively between Fury and Usyk, I think Usyk is a guy who has another gear he can get to, and it's looking better and better and better each time at heavyweight, as opposed to Fury, who I think he largely fights to the level of his competition, but at the same time, when you're going up against a highly skilled operator, someone who has the boxing acumen and IQ of a Usyk, and you're bringing in a mind state of, I can either be here tonight mentally or not. I can either come in at 110 or I could come in at 75. For me, I can't solidly I can't solidly make a prediction for Fury.
Great stuff, guys. So yeah, very excited to see. And I believe that they're targeting the rematch for. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. October, right?
October, yes.
October. So yeah, very exciting stuff. But we still got more to talk about outside of this fight. Let's talk about some recent developments, news. First thing that came off to mind was they're already. It seems that there's an agreement between Errol Spence and Fundora to fight it out later this October at the AT&T Stadium, depending if it'll fit within the Cowboys' football schedule. But assume that it does go through. A lot of dynamics are in play. Let's go to you, Steven. You really, we all know you're well drenched in the Texas culture out there, you being a resident there. So your thoughts on this first announcement and your initial thoughts and how you see them matching up. Should this fight be official come October?
So as a guy that's rocked with Team Spence from day one, like when he's come up to where he's at now, even after the loss, one loss is not going to deter me from being a fan. Boxing fans are real fickle like that. But I'm a big fan of Spence. But I will say this, if I'm his manager, and he's very notorious for saying, I don't do tune-ups, I don't do tune-up fights, you definitely need a tune-up fight. Coming where Fundora is coming off of some great victories, some battle-tested stuff with Lubin, a great win against Tim Tszyu, where Spence has had this layoff. He's had longer layoffs. He's gotten only older. Fundora's younger. Just to get back in the same way he did when he fought Danny Garcia after that car wreck, and then he kind of figured it out, got the fight with Ugas and figured that one out. I just don't think you can go from that Bud Crawford loss, a layoff like that, a split with your longtime trainer and Derek James, and then jump right into a young, hungry little lion like Fundora, who is finding, to take Courtney's talking point, finding new gears in his game. And when you're finding new gears, that's a very dangerous fighter, as opposed to a guy that is going to be, on the downhill of his career, his fighting career. And he's gone through some great wars and had a great experience, a great career. But he's also tweeting, "This might be the last time you see me." And anytime any athlete at a high level is thinking retirement, you're already halfway out the door. And in boxing, you can't show up halfway. Fury learned that lesson, I believe. He showed up to the fight. I'm just gonna show up. I'm Fury. I'm Tyson Fury. There's only one of me, and I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna get this win because I'm overlooking a lot of this guy. and you show up halfway and then you find yourself on your ass, shit, stuff got real, and now you're thinking, I should have taken this seriously 3 months ago, but by then it's too late because the lights are bright, the fans are cheering, your energy's getting zapped, your legs aren't working, you're bouncing ring to ring, ring post to ring post. So, like I said, number one Spence fan all day here, out of here. Ran into him at the LA Fitness all the time when I lived out there in Red Oak and he was in DeSoto. But you definitely got to take a tune-up, in my opinion. Set that pride aside, if that's pride or just what he's used to. But in the boxing game, you got to kind of get your feet back from under you, and I would suggest that. But I mean, saying all that, I'm going to go to the fight. It's 5 miles from my house. I'll be there, but I just don't want to see my guy making any type of egotistical decisions that are going to cost him physically, mentally, or even down the road. I think boxing's a game where you got to get the most get the most out of it, and leave the least amount in. Like Floyd said, it's about getting hitting and not getting hit. And man, just that loss that he took against Bud, you can't have multiple fights like that back to back. It's just, I don't believe it's good for your health. But saying all that, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to be as close as I can for my money.
I'm kind of along the same thought process. I think it seems to me Spence is he's rushing into this type of fight. And I think you should really consider a competitive warm-up fight, to put it politically correct. But Courtney, your thoughts on this development that came out today, as far as Spence matching up with Fundora, them being in agreement for an October fight at AT&T Stadium. Go ahead, Courtney.
I think Spence is keen on this fight because he sees something with Fundora, and with Fundora, he is a guy who is freakishly gifted for where he's at 154, but gives exciting fights simply for the fact that he doesn't use those gifts. And I think it's where this is a situation where Spence is looking at the 154 landscape and looking at the names that are there, and is immediately keying in on Fundora. It's like, hey, I can beat this guy, and I see why. Fundora, it was basically an accident that got him the advantage over Zoo. If that elbow headbutt hadn't occurred, I think that would have been a completely different fight against Zoo. And then there's also a few fights before that, Fundora gets knocked out by Brian Mendoza. So it's one of those things. If he's saying he can't fight at 147 anymore, if he's looking to go up, looking for a belt, looking for a fight that he could fight in his hometown, that could draw people out to AT&T Stadium, and basically be as high profile as he can for with the least amount of resistance, I think Fundora is probably his guy. So I think the call out, I think him being keen to fight Fundora is based on, hey, all these guys, like, yeah, I can beat this guy. I can contend with this guy. And I think I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup as far as skills. When you look at Fundora, Tower Inferno, a guy who's 6'6", 6'7", fighting at 147, 154. And is willing to drop his reach and his height advantage to fight guys inside and go toe to toe at the center of the ring. And then you have a guy like Spence, who is just been one of the most well-rounded and complete fighters in the game for a minute. But is also coming off of a devastating car accident, coming off some long layoffs, and then coming off of a hellacious beatdown against his arch rival. I think both Spence and Fundora have enough strengths to where it makes the match intriguing, but they also have enough intangibles and degradation of skills and what they do best to also make it intriguing. But for as far as a prediction in that, it's hard to make one. But in terms of why Spence is so apt to fight him, that's something that's not surprising to me. And hey, you know what? We talk about daring to be great. We talk about having an O and not being afraid to let it go. It's kind of unfortunate that guys in this game right now only really get brave when they take that first L and they don't have the O to protect anymore. But hey, if this is the case and it's within the confines of what we're seeing now in this era, hey, I'm not mad at it. You know, from a bit if I'm in Spence's if I'm on his team, if I have any say so in his career or in a position to speak to or get in his ear and he would listen to me, yeah, I'd probably advise him that this isn't the right fight to get well or to come back to immediately. But in terms of a boxing fan who just wants to see highly competitive fights, like we saw last weekend with Usyk and Fury, hey, I'm down. Let's get it in.
A follow-up question for both you and Stephen. Stephen, I'll go to you first. Now that we know for sure Derek James is no longer in Spence's corner, um, who do you like to see fill that void? Who do you like to see train Spence, given the given the path he has chosen to take in fighting Fundora next? Who do you like to see fill that void, Stephen, in your eyes?
Logistically, because I think it's so a match made in heaven as far as if you're not going to be with Derek James anymore because of the contractual dispute. I find it's a real easy crossover because I see him anywhere and everywhere in all these fights that I'm at, Cali, Texas, and he's right down the road in Houston. Ronnie Shields is real easy for Errol Spence and Ronnie to link up. He's right down the road. He could take a little fight camp, and it's a little bit of a drive if he wants to, an hour and a half flight, I think. Just to go to Houston, he's already got that Charlo connection. Obviously, both Charlos went from, both Charlos trained with Ronnie Shields, and then obviously one of them came over with Spence, with Derek James. So it's easy that connection's there, that relationship's there. I believe that trust is there, and I think that's super important. That trust to be there more than anything in a lot of trainers. And Ronnie Shields has been doing great with a lot of his fighters as of late. I think Ronnie Shields can come up with a great game plan, has gone against Canelo many times. So he's been at the top of a lot of these fights strategically when you're seeing the best guys you can see with Charlo and Canelo. So I think it wouldn't be a big deal for Ronnie Shields to come up with the game plan for Fundora when Lubin kind of already showed what Fundora's weaknesses can be. And Spence can easily replicate that, duplicate that, and maybe add on top of that. So for me, I wouldn't say I want him. I would just think it's real easy to go to my next door neighbor's house and start cooking over there. They already got all the supplies, and I'm real familiar with this area already. So to me, that's the case, as opposed to then just shooting out now to California to get with somewhere like a Goose Inn, RGBA, or any type of other boxing gym, just because they're a high name, Freddie Roach or anything like that. I just think, like I said, you're already in the Lone Star State. It's right down the road. You've already got those relationships built. I don't think Ronnie's going to be busy with Charlo anytime soon. So take that little gym and start cooking.
Great stuff, Stephen. Courtney, what do you see as a seamless transition for Spence as far as a trainer change? Go ahead, Courtney.
If I was looking at it like Steven and from a logistical standpoint as somebody who he could see close to him and work with, I would say Ann Wolf. As funny as that might sound, but like if I were him, I would put him in touch with Ann Wolf down in Austin. I think that would be interesting in terms of what she could expand upon with him, and basically, I think with Spence, it's not so much of a trainer adding anything to what he already does well. I think it's a trainer to be in his corner and having him focused and having him in fight shape. And I'm not saying that his previous trainer, Derek James, hadn't done that, but by Spence's admission, he said he hadn't been living a fighter's life for a while. And I think that was evidence when when he got into the car accident. And then with his statements and his mind state leading up to the fight with Crawford. But I think when any fighter who gets with Ann Wolf, it's like, hey, you're going to be focused. You're going to come to lay it all on the line and die in that ring and possibly go out in the shield. And so being with Ann Wolf, I think he wouldn't have any choice but to be in that mind state. But from a practicality standpoint, I think stylistically, the person who could add most to him would probably be Sugar Hill. And people might know him as the person who is in Adonis Stevenson's corner for the longest time, and a person who has extensively worked with Fury, and is the nephew of Emmanuel Stewart. But yeah, I think if there would be anybody who could give more depth to him as being a person who was already highly skilled and very versatile and already complete. I think a Virgil Hill would probably. I mean, I'm not a Virgil Hill, but a Sugar Hill would probably be his best bet is if he's going to link up with somebody. But also, any big name, I think could do well. And I think with him, I know there's a lot on social media right now with the beef between Spence and James as far as the relationship breaking down because of unpaid money and and the business aspect of it from there. But I think with Spence, I think it's him recognizing that he needs a change of voice, a change of environment. And so I think if he were to get with somebody like a Freddie Roach, a Virgil Hunter, shoot a Nacho Beristain, I think that change. I think listening to somebody who might have reinforced something that was already said to him by Derek James, but gets him to listen in a new way or see it from a new perspective. I think he could greatly benefit from that. And the thing is with the trainer fighter relationship is if they're squabbling over money, the relationship is he's not going to be in that corner, with ears and eyes wide open to what he's being told by Derek James. So that's if it's like that and the relationship has degraded to that level, a change is something that needs to happen. I'm surprised to hear at the breakup because I said on a previous episode, he's been with Derek James since he was 15 years old. I really didn't, I really didn't envision him making a move to go somewhere else. But money, that'll do it. That when money is factored in any relationship, particularly like that where it's he's been with a guy who is like family, like a father figure to him. But when money gets added into it, it breaks those bonds and those familial feelings down. And I hate to see that in any instance with any two people or in any dynamic. But I just think if he's in a position to go somewhere and have a fresh voice in his ear and in his corner, and it's one that's solid and that's one that has his best interest in mind. I hope that works out for him, and I hope it's the best pairing for him, where whoever he chooses or whichever direction he decides to go.
Great stuff, Courtney and Steven. One last item we want to get your thoughts on is your prediction for Josh Taylor versus Catterall on the rematch for tomorrow, taking place in Leeds, England, on Top Rank. Josh Taylor, Catterall, they fought back in. Trying to remember, they fought back in 2022 in February. Split decision victory for it was split decision victory for the Taylor, but it was highly contested in the boxing public. But since then, Josh Taylor coming off a unanimous decision on Austin Lopez. Now he's wanting to make a bounce back against of all names Jack Catterall. So Steven, let's go to you. How do you see that rematch playing out? Your thoughts?
For me personally, prime Taylor, I would have chose Josh Taylor. What he did against Ramirez was just a complete dismantling, very much like a Bud Spence fight, where just that guy, you weren't going to beat him that night. no matter who showed up. And just Taylor was on his game against Ramirez, and it just looked like that next dude. However, his recent fights and what we talked about off screen, where Jack Catterall's just that dude that gives them fits. Like Haney, Ryan Garcia, there's guys where it's like, all right, Haney beats a lot of talented guys in and out of the gym any day, but then there's going to be one dude that just has your number, not necessarily beats you, just gives you fits. So in my mind, with that fight being so controversial the first time, and the way Taylor's looked as of late, I personally would take Jack Catterall, even though I liked Josh Taylor for a way longer time. I've been a fan of his longer, but if you say, hey, Steven, here's 100,000, put the money up. I'm going to put it on Jack Catterall and hope to double up. That would be my prediction.
Interesting take, Steven. You, Corny, how do you see this fight playing out for tomorrow?
I think I had Jack Catterall beating Josh Taylor in that first fight. I think like most people, I think like 90% of the public that watched that fight. I think it's one of those instances though. I think Jack Catterall got him on an off night. And I think, just comparatively holding those two up against each other, I think Josh Taylor is the better fighter of the two. And I think he's going to go in there and he's going to prove that. With that being said, I'm not saying that Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor is not worthy of discussion. But I noticed you said that's that's the last thing we're going to get into. We cannot leave this.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
We cannot leave this show without discussing the B sample.
Oh yeah, of course.
We got to do we got to do it. We got to put it out there. And like I said, that's going to be a good fight. That I'm in no way saying Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor is not discussion worthy. But hey, we cannot leave the show. We cannot leave this out without discussing the B sample. And Aaron, I know you're hosting
for sure.
But
my first thoughts on that.
I want to ask you guys, what are y'all's thoughts on the B sample? Hello.
I don't know what happened with Aaron. I was gonna let him go first if he wants to jump in there.
Hey, we're still on though. Hey, Steven, what's up, man?
So I think it's tough because it's one. What did they say? It's 1/100000th of a dosage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's still trying to prove it. So you've got his hair sample he's showing. You've got the B sample. So each one of them's trying to fight each other out. Some people are saying it's way more conclusive on a hair sample. But then you're going against VADA and the way that the boxing game is ran. But then it's also got Victor Conte in it. So we've just got so much back and forth, so much he said, she said. So we got to, I guess, just wait, figure it out. But I just don't know that sample shows, even if he took something, which you shouldn't be cheating at all. But even if you took something that it did it so much to where it just made you throw that left, and it just that's what gave you the win. I think there was a lot of things that Haney didn't do, protecting against that left hook, that really cost him the fight, to where I'm not so sure. Cheating's cheating, but I'm not so sure that the amount that they're showing, that 1/100000%, we're billion. I know people that can't even count to 1,000, much less a billion, and that's what we're talking about, the dosage in there. I don't think that would have played that huge of a role. However, if we're going by the letter of the law, cheating's cheating, and that's what it is. So if you cheated and you got caught, you need to do your thing. Whether you're Canelo, whether you're Oscar Valdez, whether you're somebody using IV drips and you shouldn't be, whether you're, whoever it is, Ben, you got to take your licks and go from there. But if you can prove your innocence, by all means, you're innocent till proven guilty. And so that's what we're waiting. Like I said, hair sample versus VADA stuff. Victor Conte, I don't trust that guy too much with all his background, his scandals that he had. For that guy to be pointing the finger at morality for fighters. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Hey, sorry guys, my internet got cut off. I don't know how much I missed.
Oh, it's all good.
But my initial thoughts was, Courtney, we discussed this with Tiffany in the previous episode. we made our thoughts known with or without the Austrian. You know, Ryan was very well capable of beating Haney anyway. But aside from
I agree.
that, knowing what we know now, I definitely agree. He should be categorized as, hey, he cheated. It's just the way it is. That was my first thought that I wanted to convey before I got cut off. But go ahead, Corny.
No, definitely. And I don't know if you guys are tracking, but ESPN dropped a story yesterday. The B sample is positive. So that's been, I will tell you, that's been kind of quiet on the boards right now. But yes, that is confirmed according to the lab contracted by the New York State Athletic Commission. The B sample did test positive at the same levels and at the same rates as the initial test that came back that he took before the fight. And I agree with y'all. I think I see Ryan Garcia winning that fight and doing so in the same fashion, whether he had minuscule amounts of Osterine in his system or not. That was his night. Like I said, Haney was due for it. I didn't think that Garcia was going to be the one to hold him account, but to our surprise, and I think it was a delightful one for a lot of people. That's how it went down, and that's definitely what happened. But in terms of the integrity of the sport, in terms of Ryan Garcia, saying it was tainted, or he had contaminated supplements or whatnot, and he was like, "Hey, run that B sample. That's going to exonerate me," and it hasn't. And now Ryan Garcia's statements are that, like, basically begging, like, "Hey, please, I need any expert, anybody out there, I need somebody to come and help exonerate me or whatnot." I think that just speaks to his guilt in this instance, and like I said, I think with the run up to the fight, with the statements he was making, with his behavior all throughout the run up, and his refusal to get back on the scale after he busted weight. I think it all makes a perfect storm to where you're going to be very hard pressed to present me with a scenario where Ryan Garcia didn't know that he was taking something illegal. We've seen people pop positive because they were taking cold medicine. We've seen people pop positive because they were taking dietary supplements. We saw Canelo pop positive because he was eating contaminated meat. I've been emphatic in saying that in all those instances, those people still need to be held to account. They still need to take responsibility for what they've done, and accept the punishments that are meted out by those commissions. Because ultimately, as a fighter, as a team, as a camp with a fighter, you are responsible for everything that you ingest. You are responsible for everything that you put in your body. It's one of those things where ignorance is not an excuse, but we're finding Austrian, and that is not that's certainly something that's not naturally occurring. Ryan Garcia put the blame on the ashwagandha or omega-3 supplements he was taking, named what brands those were, and those companies came out and issued statements. It's like, "Hey, we don't know what he's talking about. We do not put those things in our supplements." I think what's transpired with the B sample, it's very telling for Ryan Garcia, and I think with Haney, what he's requesting to the New York State Athletic Commission, saying that he thinks Ryan Garcia needs to be DQ'd or that fight needs to be moved to a no contest. Certainly agree with that at this point.
Well, great takes from both you, Steven, and Corny. So that's going to be it for episode 105 of the Standing Aid podcast. You know what? As I'm always blessed to be on these airways with you, Corny, you, Steven. It's always been an honor throughout these episodes. Salute to you guys. Shout out to who couldn't be with us, unfortunately, but they always rock with us. The first lady of boxing, Tiffany Daniels, doing big things. Also, she's in the path of becoming a professional boxing official. Also, she's a USA Boxing certified official in that aspect as well. And also, a shout out to Michael Gomes doing big things with Signature Realty out in New Jersey, and also honorable mentions, of course, to D Rock Daniel Pena, OG host from episode 1, and also our first fighter guest interview back in September of 2017, Eddie Sanchez for Leyenda Fundora. Shout out to you guys, but let's go to you, Steven. Any closing words, shout outs you want to give out? Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, so Tommy Rush doesn't kill us. You skipped him. So shout out Tommy Rush. Who's,
My bad, Tommy.
always
Oh, brain fart. I'm sorry.
Aaron likes to bury the lead. Terrible. No, but everybody, shout out. Tiffany Daniels, like you mentioned, man, big things in boxing. She's got like 5 different jobs and kills them all. And now you can look her up on BoxRec, and she is certified. So that is super, super. That's amazing. Between her business, her kiddos, all the stuff that she does, to be like, oh yeah, and on the side, I'm becoming a certified boxing judge, and I'm already on BoxRec, credentialed. She's killing it. Shout out to you, Aaron, who's despite the camera being down, you're still rocking it. Courtney out there being overseas, whatever time it is over there, still doing his thing. So shout out to all you guys, man. Just always happy to be talking boxing, and we'll just keep it going and just keep having fun. Even though I had to call Courtney when he contradicts himself and legitimately says the exact opposite of what he just said. That's the only thing I'll pump the brakes on. So outside of that, that's why we like to have fun, though. That's why I love sparring.
Nice sneak diss from Steven Ruiz.
No sneak diss, straight to him right there.
Corny Tanner of the Bird Brown Sugar. Any closing thoughts, shout outs you want to give out? Go, Corny.
Well, anyways. Nah, it's unfortunately Steven got me in the mood. I'm feeling a little under the weather, and I'm not in the mood to go back and forth with his ass. But no, hey, as usual, I'm glad he's on the show, and glad he's rocking with us, and definitely happy about the layer that he brings. Him and Tiffany Daniels have brought to the show. Shout out to Tiffany Daniels in the midst of doing big things in the real estate market. Michael Gomes as well. We love and miss you guys whenever you're not here, and look forward to you guys being back on with us. Aaron, as always, thank you for being the glue and putting things together behind the boards, but also finding the time to provide unique perspectives and insights on the show. Once again, shout out to Nick Angarame, my boy in New York. It takes care of me every time I'm up there. Rolls the red carpet out for me, for him to just basically to be as high as he's been on his Usyk, his favorite boxer doing it right now, and being able to do the ollie, climb on the ropes, and tell the world that I told you so. Hey, that's major for him. And basically, shout out to everybody on different flat platforms that have collaborated and rocked with us throughout the years and help expand our movement here. And as always, a shout out to our international viewers. They brought us global, and we thank Brandon Griffin for that. And everybody who's continued to rock with us from day one, everybody who is just tuning in and giving us a listen and giving us a try. We thank you all, and we just ask that you please keep supporting our movement and bringing people along with you. And our aim is to continue to bring you the real for real, the uncut, the unadulterated, with the state of boxing in this current era. Boxing is not dead. These are some very high times we're living in the sport, and we look forward to continue to have you all along on the ride.
Awesome, guys. And you know what, Tommy? Sorry for forgetting you inadvertently forgetting you in my shadow. But Tommy, we always got love for you doing big things. He's in travel mode, but I know he's with us in spirit. Shout out to you, Tommy, and again, shout out to you, Steven. Shout out to you, Corny. And that's going to be it for episode 105. Thanks to everyone for listening in into episode 105 live on the stream, on the audio. Oh, Team Mike versus Jake Paul. Don't forget. Oh, July. Oh, wait. You know what? Let me get your quick predictions for Silva versus Schofield. I think that's the one fight I'm most excited about in that undercard. Let me go to you, Steven. How do you see that fight playing out? Your thoughts on it? LBC Long Beach versus Texas, that home crowd. Those two communities being represented. Your thoughts on that matchup? You're unmuted, Steven.
There you go. Sorry about that. I'm going to roll with Texas just because obviously I've met Schofield a few times and had the pleasure of watching a few of his fights. But I do think this is a guy where he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's for. This guy's no joke, so you can't have a rough day in the office with him. He's very talented, highly skilled, to where Schofield's been able to make up for some mistakes that he's had in the past because he's just been the better fighter. I think this is one where no mistakes. You got to go out there and do it right. So I'm going to roll with Schofield. But again, he has very little room for error on that because that guy on the other side is no joke and has some sweet skills. So that's what I'm going to roll with.
Great stuff, Steven. Courtney, how do you see those two matching up? Silva versus Schofield in the
So I think that prediction by Ruiz, clearly states that he's predicting Schofield, but he already knows that Sylvia's going to beat his ass. Like that, but hey, I'm going with Sylvie. I think I think they're both very, very glowing and bright prospects, and I hope whoever takes the short end of the stick on this though continues with their rise and their trajectory. I think it's bullshit that boxing has become a sport where one loss can define you. So whichever person doesn't get their hand raised, I think I hope they can take a dub and getting this experience on this big stage under their belt. But I think it's going to be a good fight. I think these guys are pretty close in terms of being matched. But I think where they're at right now, I think Sylvie's a little stronger in his development. Where as far as Floyd is, he's on his RJJ, in terms of using the athletic ability to make up for a lot of the deficiencies. And I think when you have matchups like that, the person who has the stronger skill set is the person that shines. But it's boxing; anything can happen. Looking for fireworks. Wouldn't be surprised at either person getting their hand raised. But if I'm pressed to make a prediction, it's going to be Sylvia.
There you have it. Last minute predictions for that fight. So, without further ado, this is going to conclude episode 105. I'm Aaron Sora from Los Angeles. With me, Stephen Ruiz from Ringside Global. Check out his IG page. And also Courtney Burp Brown Sugar Tanner abroad, serving our country of ours proudly. You know what? We're off, guys. Have a good night. Peace.